Yeah, all right. So it is time for Body Talk, and my friends, today is a very special conversation inside Body Talk. We will be discussing the increased risk of victimization and exploitation of our women and children during this period of recovery. So today, I actually have two wonderful ladies with me, and they are on a different mission, and this time of recovery of Hurricane Melissa. So while so many are giving back in, cash and kind, these women are on a different mission, and it's very, very important. And this mission, my friends, is to redirect our focus and raise awareness on the vulnerability of our women and children in this difficult time. The devastating results of the hurricane have left many people homeless and hopeless. And while we are all uniting to assist these individuals, there are some who will want to take advantage of this fragile moment. And with human trafficking on the rise, it is important to protect our women and children from exploitation and victimization. So, I will have the pleasure of speaking with, she won't be here today, but I'll be having the pleasure of actually speaking with Stephanie Hazel Lyles, my friend, the founder of Girls First, which is a organization that promote a culture of honoring and protecting girls and women worldwide. The mission is to identify and bridge the physical, psycho, emotional, and spiritual needs of vulnerable girls with multidisciplinary services to support their protection and restoration from victimization. And also, we'll be talking to Simone Brown from 876 Volunteer, which is a Jamaican non-profit organization which connects good hearts to good causes. So let me just welcome. Good morning. What is the morning, boy? I mean, I used to the time. I don't know what time it is. Good afternoon, ladies. Hi. Hello.
Hi, Darren.
Hello, my friends. Let me hear. Hold on. Give me a moment. Give me a
Hello.
moment. Yes, you hearing me now?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Wonderful, and I can hear you
We
as
are
well.
hearing you.
Awesome, awesome. Hello, how you doing?
How are you, Darren?
I am well. It's so good to talk to you in this capacity, Stephanie.
Yes, great to see you.
Yes, and hi, Simone. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, Darren. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for having us on the show. It means a lot.
Yes, and it means a lot to have you as well because we know how important this conversation is. And I mean, there are so many things, so much happening, and we can simply forget that there are other things happening as well
Yeah.
that we need to talk about. So let me jump to ask you, Simone, can you
Yes.
tell us the mission? Tell us about this mission. What inspired your partnership?
So 876 Volunteer is a grassroots movement that is
Mm-hmm,
aimed at heightening community awareness towards smaller agencies like Girls First JA, like Pursuit International.
mm-hmm,
876 Volunteer is really Jamaica's first volunteer promoter. Just like we have a party promoter, we
mm-hmm,
promote
mm-hmm.
volunteering. And so what we were doing for years is building relationships with Stacy, with Stephanie, and
Mm-hmm.
their group, and getting them exposure, getting them resources, getting them more volunteers.
Yes.
And so when Hurricane Melissa happened, we already had established a collaboration and a friendship. So I reached out to the ladies and I said, I just get this sinking feeling that amongst all of the beautiful thing that is happening on this island and the unification, there are going to be some nefarious elements that are going
Mm-hmm.
to use this
Wow.
gaping wound as an opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
do so. You had said something really important at the start of the program, that you want, the redirection of attention, but
Yes.
I would even say the heightening of attention, because
Yes.
there is so much attention being given. But
Mm-hmm.
what we want to talk about today is, if we just do some minor adjustments to
Mm-hmm.
how we look at supporting survivors, it could
Mm-hmm.
potentially make a major impact in this particular area. And that's
Wow,
what
wow,
Stephanie,
wow.
Stacey, and myself are talking about.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. The other day, there's something impressed on my heart while I was thinking about everybody volunteering to give and all. And I was just saying that's
Hmm.
amazing, but not everybody. desperately need food, but some people just
Mm.
need what you are offering right now. And I'm so grateful that you thought about it quickly and say, all right, let me build a partnership with Stacey and Stephanie and come together to raise awareness of something that we can easily just look by, right?
Yeah. And when it
Mhm.
comes
Right.
to safety and security, Stephanie and Stace are the experts.
Yes, yes, yes. And it's what about Stacey? By the way, listeners, we were supposed to have Stacey and with us,
Yeah.
Yes.
however, she is unable to make it. She had an
Yeah.
emergency, and we had to pay attention to that. And we won't, we won't say we would love to have her back whenever she's available. And just for heads up, Stacey is the founder of Pursued International, which is a
Correct.
faith-based non-profit organization targeting at-risk women and children with the
Yeah.
emphasis of counseling and mentorship and empowerment. So, if you want to answer or jump in, the same question for you, Stephanie, about the mission and what inspired even the partnership. Why did you say yes to the partnership?
Well, as Simone indicated, we are always thinking about women and children,
Hmm.
because they tend to be a vulnerable group for more than one reason.
Yes.
And we find that under the circumstances that we are faced with now,
Hmm.
going through a natural disaster,
Yes.
and the recovery of that, it has only heightened things and made things even worse. And so
Hmm.
what we want to do is make sure that safety is being included in the conversation, not just included, but forming the foundation of how we approach the recovery process. We can't forget the importance of making sure that the spaces that we are,
Yes.
we're
Hmm.
pointing survivors to are
Hmm.
are are as foolproof as possible, or safe proof as possible. We know that there are a myriad of challenges,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
many challenges, government, non-governmental agencies, civilians, all of us are feel like we're um in over our heads. We just don't
Right.
even know where to start. Even
Right.
experts, but we have to keep safety at the forefront of our minds.
For sure, for sure. And
Yeah.
I just want to jump right into my next question. So it's a beautiful way to segue to ask organizations like yourself, because I'm sure there are other organizations as well, but organizations like yourself, how can they partner together, just work together to strengthen the safety net for for vulnerable people?
I'll let Simone kind of share some thoughts on that. I'll
Oh,
also
yeah. All right, no
offer
problem.
my thoughts on it.
Okay, no problems. All right, Simone.
That's a really good question. How can smaller nonprofit groups focus on the safety and the security of our vulnerable population? I mean,
Yes.
the short answer to it is I think by nature of the work that they do,
Mm-hmm.
the nonprofit and the volunteer groups by design
Mm-hmm.
almost already center vulnerability. And by
Mm.
you asking that question, it actually highlights it's the larger entities
Mm-hmm.
that don't have a lot of, like, the decision makers and the stakeholders in
Mm-hmm.
this disaster response. They
Yes.
are not the ones that have the in the trenches one-on-one impact with a survivor of domestic violence, etc.,
Right, right,
etc.
right,
So
right,
when
right.
they are making their bigger plans, sometimes it can unintentionally not
Mm-hmm.
include the fabric of those kinds of,
Right.
oh, a woman wouldn't want this, or a
Mm.
child is going to feel a ways if we do this. It's kind of
Yes.
missing that kind of perspective.
Mm.
So the smaller, more grassroots agencies, I wouldn't even say more are a priority in terms of pivoting right now. I think with
Yes.
what we were talking about was, oh, these are some really great um meaningful structures that the government is trying to do now in week 2 and week
Yes.
3, but we're
Mm-hmm.
noticing some human story that's missing.
Oh man, wow.
Does that
Yes.
make sense? Like, does
No, it does.
like you like have you sat down and spoken to a survivor? Have you spoken to a woman that's actually afraid? Because if
Ah.
you did,
Yes. Yes, I get you.
And
I
it's a
get.
simple and it's a simple thing. So for example, one of the things that, Stephanie, Stacey, and myself were talking about, again, simple pivots, simple things that we could start today. If there's any stakeholders that's listening to this right now and listening to your show, Darren,
Mm-hmm.
shelter spaces,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
separating genders,
Yes.
co-ed shelter spaces, separating
Mm-hmm.
genders. Very simple. Everyone is still in the same space, but
Yes.
especially for sleeping and things
Mm-hmm.
like this, separating
Mm-hmm.
genders and
Yes.
just monitoring the movement of men into women's spaces and women into men's spaces. It's not foolproof
Mm-hmm.
by any means, but it does minimize vulnerable groups within the shelter and their exposure to people who have a higher power dynamic, like stronger survivors, which tend to
Yes.
be men, right? So
Oh,
it's simple pivots like this that I'm talking about.
yes, 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 yes. And boy, I can't. I'm gonna sound like a scratch record if I say it again. Not everybody need food. Well, we do all need the food and the care packages immediately. But
Yeah.
We
this,
need that and more. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just we're talking about POV. So,
yes,
things that you can do while you're giving food, things that you can do while
yes,
you're managing shelter
yes,
spaces.
yes.
Again, not a redirect, but a
Correct.
heightening of.
Correct, correct, correct. Well. Stephanie is here with me. Stephanie, I want to hear.
Stephanie
Yes.
show up in Yo, Stephanie.
I know the traffic
I
nearly
thought
beat
I
me,
thought we lost you,
but
but
we
we
made
actually
it.
gained you. Yes.
I want to hear your thoughts on on this, Stephanie. Uh,
What aspect exactly? The
uh,
same thing about rallying with other organizations.
right.
Yeah, like Simone said, the connecting with organizations that have maybe a more directed focus,
Mm-hmm.
that can go a long way, because what that would mean is we have been doing this kind of work before disaster struck, and so we're a little bit more familiar with the typical needs. So for example, there's a video that had been going viral with a lady saying she don't have no underwear,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's just something that people will
Mm-hmm.
easily overlook. That's that you
Mm-hmm.
can easily forget
Right.
that things like that. So even a drive for underwear, that's part of the initiative that we are planning to lead. But even there are even more critical needs like the shelter, so
Right.
things like the tarpaulin.
Yes.
We also will be collecting. We're asking for donations to provide these very specialized whistles.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that might sound kind of silly to some people, but when you have something like that in a shelter, for example, you have to be in a shelter. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have a house anymore.
Right.
Having that even as just some way of alerting, you know, people around you so
Right.
that you can feel a little more secure.
Right.
Things like those are some of the things where we are
Yes.
collecting in terms of donations
Right.
and partnering with other organizations to mobilize. But we
Yes.
have other ideas that we're proposing. We think, for example, that shelters could be divided by gender.
Right. And Simone just said the same thing as well.
Right.
So yes,
you know
indeed.
and we want to just see how best we can streamline some of these security measures, ensuring that we have security at posts,
Mm-hmm.
at entry points of these
Mm-hmm.
shelters,
Mm-hmm.
making the shelters as safe as
Safe.
possible.
Yeah.
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 And
Well,
Darren, just to sort
yes.
of piggyback on this, because I know culturally speaking, because we've all been in social media spaces and in the comment section of
Mm-hmm.
different posts that are discussing everybody's opinion on what's been happening since Melissa.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And one of the common narratives we hear is like, what that go fix? To be clear, the violation of those that are vulnerable is something that
Mm-hmm.
has been happening since the beginning of time.
Yes.
No human being can fix it overnight. What we are discussing are deterrents.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
do not want anybody who is a strategic criminal or
Right.
someone who is a criminal by opportunity to see a
Mm-hmm.
system that has not centered the vulnerable, because where we don't center them, somebody else will.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, that's powerful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
powerful. By the way, listeners, if you're just joining us, we're inside Body Talk and we're having a conversation with Stephanie Hazel Lyles from the founder of Girls First and also Simone Brown from 876 Volunteer. And we are discussing the increased risk of victimization and exploitation of our women and children during this period of recovery. Now, let's talk a little bit about human trafficking. Let's
Mm.
talk about some misconceptions people have about human trafficking that you would like to correct.
Well, we tend to think of human trafficking as a problem that's abroad. It's a them problem, and we always think of the movie Taken and
Mm-hmm.
things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where one main misconception is that you have to be taken away from your location to be trafficked,
Tell me
which
more.
is not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
You can be exploited right in your own home, and
Mm.
for the matter, for the sake of this conversation, right in a shelter. Trafficking happens when you are exploited for the gain and for the benefit of another person, whether financial gain
Yes.
or whichever other sick gain they may get from that. And so when people are in these types of situations, they're left vulnerable and left at risk of things like trafficking, even
Yes.
from those who may be coming in under the guise of
Yeah.
aid
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When people are desperate for help, they tend to be a lot more susceptible to being
Yes.
taken advantage of. And
Yes.
so that's another layer of the safety and protection. So we really want to promote community vigilance where people are looking out for each other. One of the ideas that circulated in our discussion, I think Simone raised it, was that we should try to do even an informal sensor
Mm-hmm.
in your community where
Yes.
you just know John, Susie, where everybody live,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of have an idea of your community. Be very aware of your surroundings, and then what we are hoping can be streamlined and implemented on a national level is for volunteers to have some form of identification. As they are going into the
Yes.
communities, so
Yes.
so that community members can know, okay, well, yeah, they're wearing the armband or whatever it is to
Mm-hmm.
say that they've been verified, they have been
Trained.
trained if needed, because I mean,
Yes.
volunteers, you'll have different levels and types of volunteers.
Yeah.
But you can know, okay, at least they've been verified and trustworthy. But when anybody coming in, which is kind of how it seems to be happening, we end up really putting ourselves in a even more vulnerable position
Mm.
for our communities. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those are some of the things that we are saying we need to be thinking about
Mm-hmm.
and implementing those in the plans
Right.
Mm-hmm.
for the hurricane relief at this time.
Right. Anything you want to add, Simone?
Again, I think I'm chronically online. I'm always in the comment section, so I'm always anticipating, the community response to this. Okay,
Yes.
so you want more safety, you want security, but the vetting process, is it going to slow down emergency response? Is it going to slow down civilians actually getting help to people in need, etc., etc.? We cannot think of
Mm-hmm.
safety and security in opposition of help.
Yes.
It is not in opposition of, it is the foundation of recovery. We cannot
Correct.
have true recovery without safety and security actually being
Correct.
considered, because sometimes we're rushing through the phases. We want Jamaica to get to phase 2 now, we want rebuild now, we want this now, we want that now, because we just cannot bear to see Jamaica in disrepair. But we
Yeah.
Yes.
just have to pace ourselves a little bit and fold in that safety and security so that the foundation we have is secure. Couple of things I wanted to point out.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
People's lack of access to identity, ID cards. So
Right.
people lost them TRN, them lost them birth paper, them lost this, them lost that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Without identification, especially minors and vulnerable, there is no tracking system. If there
Okay.
is no full census completed, missing and trafficked individuals may be incorrectly counted within casualty numbers when they really are not a casualty of Melissa, but something else. So that
Mm-hmm.
is something also to consider. When we're talking about an informal census, we understand that there are some agencies, government sanctioned agencies, there are some volunteer agencies that are mobilizing civilians to go around and take census. There are
Mm-hmm.
nonprofits right now that are taking census in areas like
Mm-hmm.
Petersfield, Westmoreland. Big up yourself, Danisha Prendergrass, and all the volunteers on in Petersfield right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing census and they're collecting data. But what I would love to see is everybody on their lane know who belongs on the lane. So
Right.
if you take a census of who you've seen and who you haven't seen since the storm, and if you can just write down any information, if you're listening right now, write down any information of who you see on your lane and who you haven't seen on your lane. So that when government agencies come by, you can help them save time. You can hand them over that information
Right.
on a little piece of paper and say, look here, these are the people on the lane that are here, and these are the people we have not seen.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Mm-hmm.
there are any people that don't belong there, then
Mm.
now they become a point of observation.
Yes. And can I pause you right there because
Darren, pause
a
me
very
because I'll
very
go
important.
on.
No, no, and no, it's very important. It's a big conversation, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Mm-hmm.
necessary.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. But
Thank you.
yeah, I really wanted to ask this. Like, what are some signs for the people in the community? So, you just said that, for example, say a community leader is tracking those who are in the community. All right, Tom, John, Harry lives over there, so on
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. What are some signs they can look for to identify when someone is at risk now of being trafficked or exploited?
Well, that is a challenging question to answer because some of those
Mm,
signs that we would look for, including looking at what may be signs of someone who has been traumatized, are signs
okay.
that we would be seeing now by
Okay.
virtue of just the fact that they are traumatized by the hurricane and the
Mm,
effects of that. So, it's such a complex issue, but you definitely want to count those who don't have ID right
mhm.
now. They can't they can't
Right.
find their identification.
Right.
They are already just vulnerable.
Mm,
That
Mm-hmm.
alone puts them in a very vulnerable position. Also, those who don't have any familial connections,
mhm.
they're not
Mm-hmm.
really connected to any family members or people that are looking out for them, and again, that can be a very large number of people.
Mhm.
um
Mm-hmm.
and so that's why we have to talk about this because
It's everybody. It feels like
yeah,
everybody
it's
is
a
at
Everybody.
risk.
massive number of people
Yes.
that
Yeah.
that would be showing these
Yes.
signs of
Yes.
vulnerability. But we do also don't want to miss the opportunity to talk about the ways that the government has proposed for us to try to streamline some of our service as
Right.
volunteers and community
Mm-hmm.
members. And
Right.
so the Council of Voluntary Service Social Services,
Mhm.
CVSS, this is one of the agencies that we should really be letting people know about because they are kind of tracking organizations who are volunteering and they are supporting some of the
Mhm.
larger organizations and equipping them with volunteers such
Okay.
as Food for the Poor,
Yes.
and then of course the ODPEM. There's also a process through them that will help to safeguard some of the activity that we are all wanting to do,
Mhm.
so yeah, these are just some of the ways that we think can help to bring some level of order,
Yes.
as we are
Yes.
so eager to respond to the
Yeah.
disaster that we are facing now.
Yes. And I mean, being eager is a good thing,
Right.
but we need some a little wisdom.
We have to have the wisdom. We need
and
it, and we
and
need it
and
for the protection of those most
for
vulnerable.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. We're winding down. As I say, it's a
Mhm.
big conversation, and this looks like a part two because there's so much to discuss. But I have to ask this one: what role now does the community education play in prevention?
Me make Simone. Go with that one there. Because
Why
she's
you
the
say
one connecting the
me?
good
Why
hearts
you
to
say
Yeah.
good
me?
causes. So
Me not like how you stay, my girl. Just go, yeah, you take that. Darren, one more time for me. I want to make sure to do it justice. One more time with the
Yeah.
question.
So, what role does the community. So we being educated now,
Mm-hmm.
what do we do now? What's our part now after we're educated about what's happening and how to do what, how to respond properly? Like,
Yeah.
what role now do I play now in prevention?
So right now, if you want to break it out, we have two factions of the community. We have the affected and we have the responders.
Yes.
So with the affected, we've sort of identified a census that they can informally take so that
Yes.
they can have a running list of who belongs here and who doesn't, so that they can
Mhm.
inform personnel at the appropriate time, police if they need to, census takers if they need to, so on and so forth. That's how the affected community, one of the things that the affected community can do. They can also look out for the members of their community that don't have any ID and ensure that, you know, they can vouch for their identification. Somebody who knows them can witness and say, we know who that person is. For the responders,
Mm-hmm.
um, to Stephanie's point, we can, while we are driving down to the west, doing our own personal drives, doing our own civilian responses,
Yes.
also register at the larger agencies like Food for the Poor.
Correct.
It's
Mhm.
not an either or. And I think that's what's been happening.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, I signed up and they didn't call me. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
fine. But there are numbers that they're giving right now. They're running on very limited resources themselves, so let's not exclude joining databases and data
Mm-hmm.
banks, because eventually, you know, the ODPM or the government might be like, okay, registered volunteers only, and then what? So
Mm-hmm.
let's just anticipate that and make sure that we are a part of a volunteer database while we're doing that. So when we are shifting to something a little bit more organized, it's not like we're excluding all of our civilian responders. We already have them in our database.
Got you.
So that is one thing that the responder part of our community can do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also make it a habit to check in with community leaders when we're showing up to give out packages before we start handing them out.
Yes.
So, you know, people are just pulling up on a side and just handing out to
Mm.
whomever. But it would be
Interesting.
nice, even if you don't do it at the start of your handout, even if to say, you know, is there an elder in the community? Is
Yes.
there a leader in the community? And if you don't check in with them beforehand, because depending on how the community is spread out, you may not be able to get to the elder first. They may
Mm-hmm.
be a last stop. But make it a habit to check in with an elder or a leader of the community. In the same way, watch this, Darren. When people go
Mm-hmm.
to the maroon, certain maroon village, you know, they have to check in with the chief first.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
Every district have a chief, not because
Yes.
it's not a maroon, not because it's not Chief Curry.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
can't
Yes.
just walk into people church and don't talk to the pastor. You
Correct.
can't just walk into
Correct.
people soldier camp and don't report to the commander. So every community has an elder. If you can, if you're doing your own personal drive, ask who the matriarch or the patriarch of the community is, and just check in with them. And if you intend to go back to that neighborhood or that community and make it your targeted community, because some of us have adopted certain districts now.
Mm-hmm.
I come to find out, which is a great
Yes.
practice. And
Mm-hmm.
you still don't know who the elder is.
Ah.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
that would be something that we can do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Very important. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you. Finally, as I said, big conversation. We can talk all day about this, but
Oh, we would
you
love
guys are so
that.
passionate
So
about what you do, and that's amazing. Because
yeah,
you know
the
some
more we
people,
talk about it, the better.
and
Mm.
that's exactly what I wanted to ask. Like, how do we keep this conversation? How do we keep these conversations going? And also,
Yeah.
just give one practical piece of advice to the public today.
Okay, well, I would say in terms of continuing the conversation,
Yes.
definitely partner with us and follow us. You know, we are now especially driving messages as best as we can in the social media space and
Mm-hmm.
all the other spaces like here on radio. So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to follow Pursued International. That's on Instagram.
Yes.
And you can also visit their website at pursuedinternational.com.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you learn all about human trafficking as far as it affects our country, our region. There's even an opportunity to be trained on and to receive certification with Pursued International. So I want to plug that. And then with Girls First International, which is my organization, you
Mhm.
can visit our website. We are girlsfirst.com. But most of our engagement is happening in the social media space. So at Girls First JA, keep in
Mhm.
touch with us there. Both Pursued and Girls First will be leading an initiative for collecting some of these same protection focused items, and we would love your support. And we always love partnering with 876 Volunteer. As Simone said earlier, she has connected us in invaluable ways with different type of people and organizations, and we've had such a long-standing relationship with her. So God bless her. And yeah, you can also follow 876 Volunteer. So yeah,
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you,
maybe
Stephanie.
Simone can give the practical advice.
Yes, one practical advice.
Stephanie, I'm noticing a trend, but it's all right. Later for you. It's okay. Darren, you've been great as a host. Before we sign off, we just want to
A
say that
pleasure.
thank you so much for creating a safe space for us as women to talk about this.
Yeah,
Not for nothing,
Most
as a male host, you've made us feel elevated and safe, and like we're doing really great work, and it matters a lot. Thank you
yes,
very much.
yes, yes,
absolutely.
yes. You're most welcome.
Absolutely.
And then the parting thing I would say is, I guess, just Stephanie made some great points. The final thing with 876 Volunteer on our Instagram page as well, on in our highlight section, what we've done is reposted donations drives and volunteers. And in this new stage, a couple of weeks after Melissa, when a lot of smaller agencies have done their needs analysis, now we're getting a lot more targeted drives, like what
Mm,
Stephanie and Stacey are doing, targeting the vulnerable, targeting certain communities. Finally, we're getting certain needs analysis of certain maroon communities. So you can stay tuned to the 876 Volunteer, especially in the stories and the highlights. And as a community, just pick a community, pick a targeted audience that resonates with you. And again, for consistency, stick with one community. It's safer for you, it's safer for them. Identify yourself when you show up to the elder. I mean, these are all things that should come instinctive to us as a community, but we're getting back to basics as an island, and I'm really proud of us for that.
yes, awesome, awesome, awesome. Wow, wow, wow. All the
Yeah,
things.
holy
But we give
patings.
God thanks for information. And we're grateful for you both. Thank you so much. And we really wish
Thank
Stacey
you.
would have been here today to,
Man, way
Yes,
bad,
add a
bad, bad.
few
Stacey,
points.
big up yourself. She's actually,
yes. We
we
we miss her.
we have all very similar roles within the community. So Stacey is actually going to somebody's aid right now, why she could not be here.
Yes, yes, yes,
That's the
yes.
only way she would not be here. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. I really hope that we get to have a conversation soon again. No,
Absolutely.
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. So
Part
that
two, Darren. Part two.
yes, for sure. So Jamaica, my listeners, stay informed. It's very important to have this information so that as you go along your life and your giving and you're doing it in a safe way. So thank you again, thank you so much, my friends. That's all the time we have inside Body Talk. We will talk again next week, same time, same place here on the Family Station, Love 101.